We've got the all-new Hyundai Kona EV.
You've already driven the gas model, now we go electric. Ooh, easy there, Drea. It is a wet one here in Vancouver, and we've got a front-wheel drive only. This is the Kona EV being updated. What's under the floor of this thing?
A 64.8 kilowatt hour battery with 418 kilometers, 260 miles of range. It has 201 horsepower and 188 pound-feet of torque. This is a front-wheel drive model only.
In the United States, there's also an entry-level model with 133 horsepower and 188 pound-feet of torque, and a smaller 48.6 kilowatt hour battery. It has 200 miles of range. First off, before we move on, Andrea, nice job matching the sweater to the car.
I know, this is called Meta Blue, but it actually has a lot of purple in it.
All right, what do you get with this thing? What are the key standard features? Sweater not included.
The base trim comes with a heat pump, a 12.3-inch touchscreen with navigation, wireless Apple Carplay and Android Auto, a 12.3-inch digital driver display, manual cloth front seats, heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, Hyundai Smart Sense safety features, 17-inch wheels, and a tire repair kit. Some of these features are not standard in the US.
But they didn't scrimp on the buttons.
They certainly did.
Which I personally like. Big drive mode switch. What can we put it in?
You got to put it in S for subscribe, and if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure to like and subscribe, and also follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrea to see what's going on behind the scenes, and to get a question in. For me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below the like button.
So this Meta Blue for this Kona EV that we're driving is an exclusive color to the electric vehicle.
Well, we've got some concerns about the noise level in this. You would think with an EV, it's got to be quiet. Well, stick around for questions, coffee, and cars coming up about halfway through the video. Right now, how do you, I mean, it's hard to do this because all electric vehicles drive similarly, but how do you like the handling of this thing?
I like it. I think that it feels really planted, which is what you would expect from an electric vehicle. It's easy to maneuver. You've got an excellent turning radius. It's not a big vehicle. It's in the subcompact class, so you would expect that. I even like the one pedal drive. The vehicle comes to a complete stop when you use this, and you can control it with the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Super easy.
Well, speaking of size, Andrea, she got bigger.
She did.
From the last model to this model, they added a lot of extra wheelbase and rear cargo space, and they believe this Kona family, whether it's the gas or the electric model, is going to appeal to a wider range of people, and I think that's going to be true.
All EVs are similar in the way that they handle and drive. Of course, you do have some, such as the Kia EV6 that has more of a sporty feel to it. I would say that this is in the lines of more comfortable.
So we went on the launch of the gas model, and I was kind of diplomatic with my how do I like the looks of it.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to come out and say it, Andrea. I don't like the look of this thing. I think it's so rounded at the front, and then all the angles down the side. It just doesn't really have, in my opinion, much character.
Well,
it's busy.
Busy, I would say. I think it has a lot of character because it is super unique, but I'm not a fan of it as a gas model. I think as an electric vehicle, it works because electric vehicles seem to be quirky, different. There are a few things that I do like about the exterior design, the slim, wide-spanning lights in the front and the back, as well as the flush pixels in the lower bumper, front and back as well. One thing I'm not crazy about, which is unique to this EV, is the high-gloss black trim at the bottom of the vehicle. So the gas model doesn't get that.
Okay, just to confuse things a little more, that bar across the front is kind of like the daytime running light. The main headlamps are actually lower in the bumper. Okay, so it does look a little confusing.
And this comes standard with LED headlights. You get 17-inch wheels, a tire repair kit, and this is more aerodynamic than the previous model. It has a drag coefficient of 0.27, and how about that frunk?
Yeah, the frunk is not very big.
No.
But at least it's in there. I would probably hide the temporary cable up there or something else. But yeah, you could kind of put something and store it in there because you're not going to open that very often.
The exact measurements are 0.95 cubic feet.
Well, you know what? This is the same as the gas model. They started with an EV and worked backwards to develop the gasoline models. So the interior here looking forward is the same, and I have to applaud Hyundai for coming out with a dashboard that is future forward. You've got the big double screen under one pane of glass, but you still have all the beautiful buttons and switches. You know, living in Canada, for example, you get in your car and you've got gloves on. You want to be able to do stuff easily, and this works.
Yeah, lots of buttons in here, which I like. A lot of manufacturers are moving away from buttons and knobs, and this has got a volume knob. The cabin feels really open, and that's something that Hyundai wanted. It's supposed to be like a modern, open living space. What I don't like is that there is not a lot of closed storage. It's all open.
Okay, this is it. You ready? This is the closed storage.
This is it.
Is a tray that big. You know what this is for, Andrea?
What?
You put a large fries in there from McDonald's, and then you can just go like this. And then when you're done, don't forget to take it out though, because your car will stink of French fries.
I just would like some closed storage space. So if I do leave something in my car, it's somewhat protected. So you have to keep that in mind. These dual 12.3-inch screens are really modern. And this has the next generation Hyundai infotainment system. You'll be happy to know that it comes with wireless Apple Carplay and Android Auto, a feature many of you, as well as us, have been waiting for.
How many years did that take? How many years did it take? We were on Hyundai group for all of their Kia and Genesis vehicles as well to add that. It's slowly trickling in. Well done. And the interesting thing is, when we drove the gas model, not the case.
No.
The one thing I want to know, if Zach went to the Hyundai dealer and got the gas Kona, is this going to be reverse compatible? Are they going to be able to do an update?
Yeah.
Or am I stuck with having to plug it in?
Well, we did ask at the launch of the Kona, and they didn't know if they can upgrade that through a software update. Now, these seats are super comfortable. Hyundai has made them 30% slimmer to provide some extra rear legroom for the passengers, which I think is really nice. And
Just wait before you go on, Andrea. Do I look 30% slimmer in the seat?
Yes, you do, Zach.
Oh, I got to buy this car.
See, 30% slimmer, Zach Lux. This has a heated steering wheel, and it's heated all around, which is really nice. And then, of course, you've got 4 dots here on the steering wheel.
Do you know
what is
that?
it, Zach?
Doot, 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 doot is Morse code for H.
You got it.
Hyundai.
Now, there are some features that the Kona doesn't have. Power passenger seat. You're not going to get a power tailgate, heated rear seats, or driver's seat memory. Now, its competitor, the Kia Niro, on their top trim offers all of those features, but you will pay a little bit more for that vehicle, $3,300 Canadian extra. But if those features are important to you, that's another great option.
Now, available features include a moonroof, ventilated front seats, leatherette upholstery, a power driver's seat, wireless charger, Bose sound system, digital key, and a head-up display. As we mentioned at the beginning, this is bigger than the previous Kona, and you definitely benefit from that in the rear legroom department. I'm showing you a clip of me getting in the old Kona and then getting in this new Kona, and there is a marked difference. So this is going to be useful for a larger spectrum of people. How does it stack up?
Comparing the Kona to the Kia Niro EV, the Kona EV offers 41.7 inches of front row legroom, which is about the same as the Niro. Second row legroom at 36.4 inches is half an inch less than the Kia.
And here's me lifting up the not power operated liftgate in this model. If you want a power operated liftgate, as Andrea mentioned, you need to get the Kia Niro.
Cargo space behind the second row at 25.5 cubic feet is larger than the Niro, but overall cargo space at 63.7 cubic feet is the exact same.
Now, I did a little digging, Andrea, under the floor of the back. I was quite surprised when you lift it up. The space for a spare tire, a temporary spare tire, a little hideaway one, is there. And in this model, you get a tire repair kit. If I bought this car, I'd go to the dealer, I'd order the temporary spare tire and put that in there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and it's nice to see that there's space in there. Obviously, Hyundai did this for weight and to protect your EV range.
All right, let's get into it. Your questions.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram. kilogram.
How will this compete with the new Equinox electric vehicle? That's one we're looking forward to getting into. It has an all-wheel drive option, which is nice. This is just front-wheel drive, and it has more power and more range than this.
And bigger. I think it's in a much bigger class than this.
Yeah.
This is still kind of fighting in the subcompact space. That's going to be a large compact, one class bigger, but because the wheelbase is so long, it's going to have a lot more space. Can't wait to drive it. But it's like apples and oranges.
What is your opinion regarding the front grille charge port? It doesn't bother us. Maybe for some people who have a charger in their garage, it might not work for some.
But listen, if you really needed to get a longer cable,
you could.
It wouldn't be the end of the world. Plus the cable you get with your charger is going to be fairly long anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. You see Genesis with some of their electrified vehicles, they also have the charging port in the front. I mean, you can't really see it, which is kind of nice. It's a little bit more streamlined. I don't mind it. I really like the new Kona. It certainly is a really great option among the subcompact segment. How refined is this EV version in terms of noise, vibration, and harshness? I'm just wondering because this is a less expensive EV with no engine to drown out other noises.
Okay, here's an interesting thing. I went to a product launch, and it was for the Mazda 3 or Mazda 3. And they went through how quiet that car is.
Yeah.
And they had a graph showing all the competitors in that size. This was for the sedan.
Yeah.
And the Mazda 3 is quieter. You know what was much noisier?
What?
Was the Model 3, the Tesla.
Oh.
And I asked the engineers, I said, wait a second, you're telling me that the gas engine Mazda 3 is quieter than the full electric Tesla 3? And they said, yeah, because most of the noise comes from the tires, and it's road and wind noise, not engine noise.
So I'm a little bit disappointed because you guys know I rave about the Hyundai Tucson hybrid and just how quiet it is. So I thought this would be the same. It's not the case. There is a lot of road noise for an electric vehicle, and there is some wind noise as well. So I expected it to be a lot quieter.
Well, that's what I asked. I said, well, why is that the case? They said, well, you know, in the example of Tesla, and maybe the case of this vehicle, they're just resting on the fact that there's no gas engine.
Right,
but they're not insulating it to the same standard for road noise. And it's really the tires we're hearing the most. And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
Being a 400-volt architecture and with limited range, is this good value when compared to the 800-volt EVs from the same group? Not sure if the price difference is enough to justify this buy.
So the vehicles that have 800-volt architecture, like vehicles like the Taycan and the e-tron GT from Audi, and the Hyundai Group has it on select models as well. Now, that really is best used for when you have a super duper excellent, amazing fast charger. For the average person, a lot of the chargers that are available where you live are not even capable of going even over 150 kilowatts.
And I think it's a good question too. Is it better just to make the jump to something like the Ioniq 5 with the price difference? Well, I think it really comes down to budget. If you can make the stretch an extra $5,000 to get the rear wheel drive model, that's the base model Ioniq 5 in Canada, versus this top trim Kona EV, which is front wheel drive, I would say, yeah, sure, if you have the budget. So if you throw in rebates, you can really bring that price down to make this an affordable option. With the Ioniq 5, you got to have the budget for it.
What's that? I couldn't hear you. All right, let's get into all of that, the specs, the charging, the price, and more in our vital stats.
Let's start with pricing. We'll do Canada first and then move on to the US. The Canadian pricing includes freight and destination charges. The preferred model starts at just over $48,000, and the ultimate trim is just over $53,000. In the US, the SE model starts at just over $32,500, and the top limited model is just over $41,000. This EV comes with a 10.8 kilowatt onboard charger, and with a level 2 charger, the Kona can go from 10 to 100% in just over 6 hours. With a DC fast charger, 10 to 80% in 43 minutes with 400 volt fast charging capability. The Kona also has battery cooling as well as heating capabilities.
Now in Canada, this Kona EV qualifies for the federal EV rebate of $5,000 and any rebates in participating provinces. In the United States, a tax credit may be available at some dealerships if you lease the vehicle. Hyundai offers a warranty of 5 years, 100,000 kilometers or 60,000 miles. In the United States, complimentary maintenance is covered for 3 years or 36,000 miles. So maybe budget-friendly, front-wheel drive only EVs. What else can you choose?
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
The Kia Niro EV with 201 horsepower and 407 kilometers, 253 miles of range. It has a starting price of $45,500.
The Kia Soul EV also has 201 horsepower, 248 kilometers of range, and a starting price of $46,000 Canadian. This is not available in the United States.
The Chevrolet Bolt EUV has 200 horsepower, up to 397 kilometers, 247 miles of range, and a starting price of just over $43,000.
The Nissan Leaf with 214 horsepower, 342 kilometers, 212 miles of range, and a starting price of $44,500. 2024 will be the final year for the Leaf.
So there are 4 front-wheel drive electric vehicles for you to consider.
Lightning round, 2 things we like, 2 things we'd like to see improved.
Well, I really like the comfort level of the cabin. I would just like it to be better insulated.
Oh, I'm out of fries.
With rebates or a tax credit, the base model Kona EV is quite an affordable option.
EV and value? Say it's not true.